I walk in here thinking I'm the hot stuff, and I'm walking out feeling like I'm about to throw up and like heaving, dry heaving, like
Oh God.
curled into a ball on the ground.
All right, welcome to the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad here. I'm your host, Chris Finn, and I have a very special guest with us today. I'm super excited. I've known her since she was a little girl, and she has grown into an amazing young woman, amazing golfer. I'm here with Gina Kim. Thank you for being here with us, Gina.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I'm going to brag on you just a little bit, Gina, because I know you won't do it yourself. You're too humble. But for those of you who don't know Gina, she's a Duke grad. She's a Duke alum. She went to Duke and she can golf her ball, ladies and gentlemen. She ACC. I may leave something out. You're gonna have to tell me if I missed anything. The ACC champion while you were at Duke, multiple All-American. I believe you guys won a national championship in 2019. Is that correct?
We did. Yeah, you got it. You got your facts straight.
Yeah. So, and turned professional in 2022 and crushed the Epson Tour and got your card coming in. I think you had your first win professionally on the Epson Tour, correct? I think it was Mission.
I did, correct.
Over at Mission? Yep. And then now on the LPGA Tour this year. And so you have literally gone from like every stage of golf, particularly when we talk about, there's lots of juniors and their parents that listen, and it's also just, regular adult golfers who are curious on the journey and what it takes. You've gone through successful junior career, very successful collegiate career. Now you're having the startings of a successful professional career. I think where I always like to start with somebody like yourself is like, what's the journey been like? Like, give everybody listening, like just a little background of, the different phases and the changes that you've kind of had to adapt to, and, maybe what's been some of the challenges. And obviously, I only outlined a couple of your successes, but, give everybody listening kind of an idea of what it's been like for you.
Yeah. So obviously, like you mentioned, I feel like I've gone through pretty much every level of competitive golf you can probably think of. Started playing locally, went up to the national level, kind of got myself known to the Duke coaches, and from there the rest was history. But I would say the first thing that comes to my mind is like the moment I kind of, I guess, upgrade to the next level, like to the national level, or like when I upgraded to Duke or upgraded up to the pro level. The beginning was actually very tough for me. Just struggling, figuring out how to balance my routine, figure out what I needed to do in that situation, how to perform the best I could possibly do in the given environment. I think I struggled for like a solid good year or two. And I think a lot of parents and golfers, they're wanting to hit the ground running as soon as they get there. And, for some people it'll happen. But for others like me, it took a bit of time. And I think those are the moments where you really have to be relentlessly positive for yourself and have to really keep grinding at it. Because I think a lot of the times I had to ask myself the question, what's the point if I'm putting in all this work and it doesn't show up on the course? What's the point? Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure there's people out there who have the same question as me.
I'm pretty sure every golfer listening has asked themselves that question, Gina.
Yeah, exactly. And, disclaimer, like every pro golfer thinks the same way too. What's the point of being out here if it's not going to show up out on the course? Because I can promise you there's been many times where I'm like, did I make the right career choice even? That's something I even thought of this year when I was struggling. And it definitely adds up to something just based on past experiences, even if it doesn't look like ideal in the moment, it definitely does add up to something. So you have to really be diligent and really be disciplined enough to still push through even on the days you don't want to do it because you find it pointless. It's not pointless.
For sure. So this is obviously, we talk about the body and physically how, that's a big part of what we talk about on this podcast. So, I mean, you knew this was coming. Like, what is the difference in, like, I think the audience would love to hear, like, are you doing the same things now on tour that you did when you were 12 and 13, like physically, like fitness wise, like talk about, like, and then obviously you go to Duke and now you're in a team environment and you have team workouts. Like what did you do as a junior and that made you successful to get to that collegiate level? And then let's spend some time talking about that transition from junior golf to collegiate golf. Because I think there's a lot of adults, parents of kids and kids themselves that kind of think they have an idea of what college golf is. They're told what it's going to be, particularly by, some coaches really want someone. They might sometimes paint a rosy picture. Is it as rosy as it's painted? Like let's get the inside scoop here. Like what did you do as a junior that helped you to be successful to get to that level at Duke? And then what was it like at Duke? How were things the same or different once you got there?
Yeah, so obviously I met Chris when I was like 12 or 13, I think.
Back in the shed, back in the good shed at Hillendale, down the road from Duke. We were foreshadowing your future.
Exactly. I would just like to say I'm one of the OG people who saw the shed. But just for everyone listening, this place was massive, right? It was huge, beautiful. It was not 10 by 15 with a single AC/heating unit. And that I painted the outside on. That is false. If anyone tells you, it was functional, people. I'll tell you that. But yeah, like I started around like 12 or 13, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like the knowledge and the science behind how important, strength training and nutrition and the PT stuff. I think it's developed so much, or more recently, I feel like. And, back then I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I had no idea. I didn't know what was so important about it, why I needed to do it. So if there's one thing I actually regret in my career is that I should have been paying more attention to it, back in like high school. Mm-hmm. So, I go into Duke. And I think most teams usually work out like 3 times a week, just I guess like bare minimum. And then if you want to go work out more, you can do that on your own and they'll give you access to the facilities. Yep. I usually did 3 and then like I would sometimes get an extra workout in, to kind of deciding if my schedule allows an hour free time. But when I first went, I actually cried on our first team workout day. I actually cried. Really? Yeah, because I felt like I was about to throw up. Oh
no.
Yeah. So like, I mean, you got to realize, like, I walk in here thinking I'm the hot stuff, and I'm walking out feeling like I'm about to throw up and like dry heaving, like curled into a ball on the ground.
What were you guys doing that made you feel like you were going to throw up?
Sled pushes.
Oh yeah, sleds will do that to you.
Oh my God. Oh, but it's like go as fast as you can, and like the seniors, they keep loading the plates on, and I'm like, guys, what could a freshman possibly say? Yeah. So I'm like, okay, well, you better stick through it and just do the dang thing. And I tried to do it, and by the end of it, I was just like curled up into a ball in the corner, just quietly, just
crying internally.
But yeah, like I, even after Duke, even after all of that, and I'm like, okay, I think I would say like I'm pretty well established, mm-hmm. Even after going through, the ACCs, NCAAs, yada yada yada, I show up at Depart for Success, and if anybody wants to know my assessment scores, you can ask Chris, because it was really terrible.
They're confidential, Gina. And I can tell you, they weren't the worst we've seen. I can confirm that.
I don't know about that, because it was a pretty low bar. But I mean, and this is like when I'm almost through my first year out on tour. So back then I was all about strength training, working out hard. And that's what I did in college. but we never did any mobility. Like we never focused enough on the mobility stuff. Not to say anything bad about Duke. It's just they didn't have time.
Yeah.
They have
Well,
so many players to take care
and I
of.
think in their defense and in everybody in the industry's defense, to what you said early on was, was very, very accurate. We didn't know anything 10 years ago. Even when you were in college, like a lot of the stuff, at this point, P1st Golf, we have the biggest database in the world. And we're literally finding this stuff out within the last couple of years of how, like, really the 4 rotary centers are the most important things in the hips and the shoulders and the spine and the neck. And like, if you don't have that, you can actually, like, having too much strength and not having that is actually detrimental. And we've seen that with tons of college players when they've come out of college, like aches and pain. You used to joke how old you felt. Just aches and pains, right? You would say, "Oh, I feel like an old lady," and really, it's the mobility side of that really helps you to kind of maintain feeling well. Particularly, we'll get into talking about this, the challenge of traveling and the wear and tear that puts on your body. But I thought it was funny. You said, like, back when you were 12 or 13, when we started working together before you went to school, like, you're like, I didn't know anything. Well, in my head, I'm thinking, I didn't really know anything either. We had ideas, but that was literally the beginning of starting to test things and starting to understand. And I think it's kind of, you're the first generation that I would say that's kind of evolved and your career along with the science. And we've been able to follow players, in around early mid-20s from the time they were 12 and 13 and seeing the changes that they've made. And so in a way, you're kind of a pioneer, Gina.
Wow. If you put it like that, that makes me feel a lot better. All of those tearful workouts makes it worth it.
They were just helping the next generation, Gina. You're one of the kindest people I've ever met, and you were so kind. You didn't even know you were being kind, helping the next generation out.
I know. Who knew I'd be so charitable?
So all right. So you go to Duke, you basically get hit, fire hose to the face of what college workouts are going to be like, team-based, seniors, maybe pushing you a little bit more than you're used to. Then you go out on tour, and now, so now you're out of the team environment and back to kind of the individual environment. And what was the first year traveling like for you? Like, how did you try to keep your body up? And obviously there's a trailer out there on the Epson tour, and it's not as big and luxurious as the big tour. But like, what was that first year like, and what were some of the challenges that you had, and how did, what was kind of your focus that first year on tour?
Yeah. So my situation was a little unique in the sense that I had dual membership. So I had membership on the Epson tour and the LPGA tour. Mm-hmm. So whenever the LPGA tour had an off week, I would be on Epson. Mm-hmm. And then if Epson had an off week, then I'd be on the LPGA tour. And so kind of like the first half of the season before I won, which was in May, I was like, okay, I'm going to get my card through the LPGA. I'm going to stay top 100 in the CME rankings because that's how you lock in your card for the next season. Yeah. It's like, I'm going to do that way. I'm going to go that route. Mm-hmm. And I'll have good status for next year. We get around to May, I win my first event. Suddenly, I went from number 50-something on the Epson money list to number 6. Top 10 get full status. And the status is much higher than scraping by, like 100. Mm-hmm. So I was like, shoot, I actually might have to rethink this all over again. So I decided, I'll still play LPGA, but I'll focus my efforts on Epson instead. Right. There was moments where I had to play 7-8 weeks in a row. Like, sometimes I didn't even know what day of the week it was, what time zone I was in, which city I was in. Sometimes I forgot my room number because you just you're just constantly moving. When you feel like you just settled in, you're going to the next city.
So give some context to people listening. When you say you played 7-8 weeks in a row, like, what is a week? Like, so you play, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. What is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday like? So like, you finish your round on Sunday. What are you immediately flying out or driving somewhere? Like, what does 8 weeks in a row look like? Like, what does a week look like?
Yeah. So like, as soon as I'm done on like Sunday, I I would try to get a flight or drive as soon as I'm done. So usually we'll get to the hotel or Airbnb by like midnight, maybe even later sometimes. And then the next day I'll sleep in a little bit. I'll sleep in until like 9:30 because I'm just so dang tired. And then I get out and I go practice, usually like 9 holes or something. Tuesday, kind of like the same thing, kind of rev it up a bit. And then Wednesday's Pro-Am day, actually. So I'm usually in the Pro-Am. And that right there for Epson, it's 18 holes. So honestly, people think that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays are practice days. No, I found if anything, it's actually Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday, you're just there to make sure the sponsors have a good time and, say thank you, all that good stuff.
And how long is a Pro-Am round generally? These are not like 3.5, 4 hour rounds, I'm assuming.
If only. Usually 5.5 hours, sometimes 6.
That's painful.
If the pace of play is like really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like even a Pro-Am day, even though you're not practicing, sometimes that can be more draining.
Yeah, especially the emotion you have to talk and entertain in addition to play.
Right. And at this point, I was not working out because I was so stressed about golf. And I was like, what could, I feel like I train so well, my body should be used to it. So like, why, the same question, what's the point? It's fine.
Yeah.
I'll be fine.
Right.
We're getting towards like the end of the season. This is like week number 7 or number 8 by this point. I'm literally like in tears because I'm in so much pain and I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to withdraw, but I don't have the luxury to withdraw from it. Every dollar counts out there. Yeah. All you have to do is make the cut to gain some money to at least maintain your ranking or go up a little bit. Right. So I don't have the luxury to withdraw. So I'm literally in tears playing golf and trying to get my tour status on the LPGA. I highly do not recommend it, folks. Do not do that. I prepare for success around October. We do the assessment. Well, no wonder my numbers are so terrible because, I feel terrible.
I mean, it makes what you did last season so impressive that you were able to gain your status in that much, like in that bad of shape. Like it really speaks to, I think one of the biggest things I've seen in juniors and kind of people always say, we get a lot of good players that come in and they'll say, oh, is that, members or other adults that are here working out, like amateur golfers, like, oh, are they going to be on tour? And it's like, and the biggest difference that I always tell them is everybody that comes in here that's really, really good, they can all shoot scores. They can all shoot low 60s, like on any given day. The difference is 100% the grit and between the ears and the mental toughness that people have. And I used to joke that I would, it's funny you mentioned sleds at Duke. You can ask Jenny about this story, your friend Jennifer Chang. She'll be on another episode, but she, one of the ways I would test kids when they'd come in, she was a very good junior player as well. And I would put I put 2 sleds, 1 sled on either end. And I wouldn't tell them how many they had to do, but I would put 1 heavy and 1 light. And I would say, go, and just keep going, keep going, keep going. And literally the only people that have ever made it to the tour were the people that didn't stop until they were like pushing from their knees and I like bloodied knees. And okay, that's good. But everybody else who was a good player, like where they would just give up, never made it. And so it was wild. And I've seen this on the boys' side and on the women's side, that there's that X factor. And to what you're describing is exactly that. Like you're literally in tears, like I don't want to play, but I'm going to because that's what needs to be done. And it speaks to how special you are and kind of everybody on tour, and then like that what that difference maker is. So take everybody through. So now you survived that season. now you show up at our front door, kind of like duct tape holding things together. Right. And what were some of the? Because I think this is really what will be kind of enlightening or kind of a light bulb moment, hopefully for a lot of people listening. What did you find were kind of the big areas that had kind of broken down or weren't functioning the way that they should, and were kind of leading to all the pain and everything?
Yeah. So when I first walked in, kind of the most, like, I guess the biggest point of concern for me was my knees,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where I was really struggling. Like, even just walking up a hill was just a struggle.
And you're like 23, right?
Oh, I was 22 at that point.
22. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's supposed to be like a 72-year-old's problem.
I know, exactly. That's why it was such a concern, to the point where my mom was like, do we need to go to a hospital and get some x-rays or something?
Right. Yeah.
And even though she was half joking, she kind of wasn't at the same time.
Yeah.
And I show up to the front door of Bar for Success, and I meet Chris and I meet John Weber, who's my PT right now. And I'm like, guys, I need help. My knees hurt, my back hurts, and everything else kind of hurts. But honestly, those two are like my biggest priorities right now. And they're checking everything, and they're like, your quads are tight. This is tight. That's tight. You ever done this and this stuff? And I'm like, what on earth is that? And this is like after I come out of Duke, like feeling like I've trained, for years at this point. But it's just amazing the amount of technology and the amount of science that comes out with this, like every year, even now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, shoot, I really need to get it together, and I really need to put some work into this, because clearly I've been neglecting it for so long. My body's like, stop it. So during the off season, I'm training. My biggest goal as a pro golfer is to try to, build endurance, but also, like, my personal goal is I want to hit a little farther. I want to try to get my speed up to 100 miles per hour at least consistently without having to work for it. Right. So, I'm working hard at it. We come around to this year's season. I kind of went back into my old habit of not working out on the road. I work out great when I'm home because there's somebody to hold me accountable. Yeah. But when I'm on the road, I've never worked out on the road ever in my career at this point. Never. Yeah. And so we get to like week 4 and 5. I'm busy texting John and Alex, like, I'm dying. What is the problem here? And they're like, well, how's your workout been going on the road? And I'm like, what workouts are you talking about? That's like, oh, that was.
I've magically forgot. You mean it doesn't just stick for the next 9 months?
And John actually got on to me about it. He's like, it's your choice. He's like, it's your choice. So like, we'll be here to help you. But like, ultimately, it's your choice to decide if this is something you want to do to improve your career and improve yourself.
Right.
And so I'm like, shoot, he has a point. So it really took a lot out of me. Like, I really had I truly did not want to go because I'm all about golf. Mm-hmm. I don't have time for anything else. So I had to drag myself out of my hotel room to go work out. And it was to the point where, in order to keep myself accountable, I would send them videos of the building and then take a video of myself doing the workout. And I tell them, hey, I'm doing it. I'm going to be done with this workout in like 20 minutes. And we had a group chat, everything. And the first thing John and Alex were like, yay.
She did it.
Walking into a gym while I'm on the road playing tournaments is just a mind-blowing thing.
Yeah.
This was this year. And so having to find the gyms, having to, coordinate my practice based on, when I'll be able to work out.
It's an entire lifestyle shift.
It is. It truly is. And so like I found out that if it's like late in the day and I'm already tired from practice, I will not go work out.
Right.
So I learned that personally, I have to get myself out of bed in the morning and do it early morning so I can just knock it out. Mm-hmm. And then I can go practice. And then when I'm tired by the late afternoon, I'm like, oh, I'm already done with my workout, so we're fine.
Yeah, so we're good. Good day.
So we're good. And so
And I
what I
think
do.
what you're describing is so it's just felt by so many people of like, we deal with this just, amateurs of like people, like we'll get people on the phone and they're like, yeah, I don't work out. I just do golf. And we literally have that same exact conversation where we're like, so how's your body feeling just playing golf? Like, why are you on the call if all you do is golf? Well, my back hurts, my knees hurt, my wrist hurt. Like, oh, and so do you think, like, is it reasonable to think just keep doing the same thing is going to give you different results? And then they kind of like pause and they're like, no. Do you think we may want to do you want to stop the pain? Well, yeah. Okay. Do you think you can like do it like 15 minutes in a day? Like, think you could find that? Like, is that reasonable? Yeah. Right. But then to your point, like then you start to do it and all of a sudden you start to figure out like, what are the, for you, it's mornings, right? And then you start to feel a little better. And then the interesting thing is then the focus then stops becoming like, do I need to go to the hospital for my knees? And it starts becoming, I want to hit 100 miles an hour. And it kind of snowballs to these performance goals. And I think it's very common. I mean, you're obviously you're one of the youngest players on tour in that kind of like rookie, early stage of career phases. So everyone older than you is going through this too, because they were there before the science was even starting, right? And so it's such an advantage at the tour level. You see all the the golf stats of distance and shots gained and those sorts of things, but also the amateur level of if you can. Most amateurs are losing 10 yards, every decade. And so being able to maintain speeds and maintain, health and being able to practice regularly. I mean, I'm sure you can practice a bit more. You're more excited to go practice when your knees and back don't hurt. Right. So
Exactly.
It just snowballs in terms of what you're able to do. And so it's a pretty, while you're experiencing it at the highest of high levels, like there's people every level below you that are experiencing the same thing. And I think that's so cool for people to hear that it's not just an amateur thing. Like it happens at all levels, even at the highest of high.
Oh yeah. And like, I think a lot of tour pros got, the ones who've had injuries before, they all tell me like the veterans, like, you need to make sure your body's in shape. Like, don't just because you're pounding balls out there doesn't necessarily mean you're going to suddenly shoot 59 the very next day. Like, your body's just as important as like hitting balls out there. So if you're spending like an hour or two on your game, then why aren't you spending at least a good chunk of that time like working out or stretching or something?
Yeah, because if your body's not use your body on every single shot. So if your body can't support it, like then the shots aren't going to happen. like you need your body all the time on every single minute that you're playing.
Right. So like for me, the first 2 weeks of establishing that routine was really tough. I think the first 2 weeks, and then after that, it started becoming a habit. Mm-hmm. So now it feels weird if I don't work out on Monday. Like I literally went through trial and error. Beginning of the season, I was like, okay, I'm going to work out because, John highly recommends it. Yeah. I didn't want to work out on Monday. I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just push it to Tuesday. Yeah. Push it to Tuesday. Didn't feel like doing it. Push it to Wednesday. I was like, okay. I probably should start working out. And I get in there and I'm just working out hard. Yeah. I'm grinding after it like I usually do during my off season. Right. Very next day, my arms are so sore. I can barely lift them up. Like it's shaking in my backswing. Yeah. And I shoot such a horrendous score. And I texted John and I was like, John, this is terrible. Like I can't work out. And he's like, what do you mean you can't work out? He's like, when'd you work out? Yesterday. This poor man has dealt with my stuff. Like I truly feel bad for him. Him and Alex get all the credit because those poor people had to deal with me in my like idiot mind thinking it was going to be fine on Wednesday. Yeah. And so that was also trial and error too. Like you have to let them know I'm feeling really tired or this is how I feel. Mm-hmm. You have to, I learned you have to be in constant communication with them. Like telling them, oh, like this is great. And not telling them for a month, like you might as well talk to them anyway.
Just putting up the bat signal when something goes terribly wrong. But I think to your point, the workout, I think some people have the idea that working out is what you experienced at like that first time at Duke on sled. Like that's working out, what doing sleds until you puke. Like that's not true. Like that's one way to work out, but there's so many other ways that recovery workouts, when you're tired, there are strength workouts, there's mobility workouts, there's, we're talking about like capacity, like aerobic or anaerobic capacity workouts to build up your ability to recover, your endurance. Like, and that's where I think we get a lot of people, oh, I'm in the season, I can't start working out. Well, yeah, you can. We're not going to be going hard on sleds and making you puke in the middle of the season, but I guarantee your hips probably suck, and we can probably make those a little better, which will help your back to not be sore, right? So I think the takeaway that I've taken from today, Gina, is there's never a bad time to start, and really kind of the more you can understand why you're doing things and the reason behind it, definitely helps from a buy-in standpoint, and then helps you to be able to really support everything that you want to do on the golf side. So I can't thank you enough for being here today, Gina. This has been awesome. It's been so much fun. For anybody that wants to follow your career, wants to follow you, just see how you're doing, where's a good, social platforms, or where can they follow you to see kind of how you're doing throughout the year?
You can follow me on Insta, Twitter, Gina K0504 or Gina Kim 0504. I think it was one of those two. But yes, I will be. So
what we're going to do is you're going to give me the actual one. I'm going to put it in the show notes so people can find you.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then you can also look on the LPGA website because my profile is there too. So,
cool. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Gina. And thank you everybody, for listening. And hopefully Gina's story is kind of giving you guys some insight in terms of, what the best players in the world do, how they develop, from the time they're, 12 to, playing on TV, and kind of that even they are human and they struggle with the same exact things that we struggle with. Particularly if you travel for work, if you're, or maybe you're grinding out there trying to make it to the next level too. You're not alone. We all experience the same stuff. We're all humans. So, but it can be done. So Gina, thanks so much for being here with us. And thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time on the Golf Fitness Bomb Squad. And hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks, Gina.
Thank you.